It's Recreation Public Spaces Committee meeting for Wednesday, April 14th. The first item on our agenda is request to address council. And I'd like to give our new rec director who's here a chance to come up and kind of speak and introduce himself and to the committee and everybody watching at home.
Right here?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
podium.
Thank you. I just want to introduce myself. Today's my third day, so brand new, trying to learn everything about City Hall and City of Norwood, as well as all the parks we offer and the rec offerings. So my name is Phil Kraby. I worked at Great Parks for 11 years. Came here starting this past Monday. I had a meeting on Saturday with the Recreation Task Force. Met some stakeholders in the community. Really want to make an impact and work with you guys on city council. I know there's a lot of big ideas of what you guys want to do. So I'm excited. I want to get started. We're going to have, I believe, 2 additional full-timers. So we're going to have a lot of exciting things coming up in recreation, especially when we get the new rec center building, the YMCA. So I appreciate it. I'm here to learn as much as I can, work with you guys, and really make a big impact here.
Awesome, thank you. Very nice to meet you.
What's the number one thing you're, outside of the rec center, what's the number one thing you're looking for 2021? Most excited about, maybe?
Really, it's just getting out in the parks and seeing what the offerings that we can put out there for our community. So I'm sort of brand new. I'm trying to learn all about Norwood, all about the parks. So I really want to, the big thing I want to do is I want to make sure it's easy for people to access our parks. They can get the information they need, whether it's building out our website, get some updated information on there, as well as our Facebook page and any other social media we want to get into. I'm big on passive use, so not like your baseball games and your soccer games, but getting people out in the parks to walk a trail or bring their kids to the park to play on the playground. Excited for, I think I've heard about a dog park or some money for a dog park, so that's something that I'm excited about too. Where I came from, Great Parks, we had a very large dog park at Miami Whitewater, so that's definitely something I see a community using a lot. With the parks here, they're very walkable for the residents, so just whatever we can do to really get people in the park, make them beautiful, and so I don't really have an agenda for my first year. It's basically learning about the community, meeting with residents, working with you guys. So I'm open. I want to learn. I want to see what people want. So creating a master plan might be a good idea. See what the community's interests are, what their needs are, and what our opportunities are to meet them.
Cool. Excited to have you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to address the committee on not on any agenda item, just in general, or?
I think mine falls under citizen-led items.
Okay. Yeah. So if there's nobody else, we'll move on to item number 2, which is citizen-led project. Ms. Bowl, would you like to come up?
Okay, sure. So I'm just here to give you an update on what we're doing. There's a little pocket park at the end of Ellesmere Avenue, right near where Wasson Way is. And it's sort of an orphan. There used to be a 3-story building on it. And so we've started the process with neighbors of just cleaning up the green space there and weeding it and preparing it. And we're basically going to do a very simple perennial annual bed inside of the sidewalk, not out in the easement. And it'll just be like on that corner, there's a tree there. And so it'll be a focal point, a pop of color, just to give that corner some definition. Might actually help with people standing, waiting to cross, and things like that. So we're just kind of like your approach is like, let's just get it to baseline and let's just listen to neighbors and kind of see how things evolve. So cleaning it up and also coordinating. They've kind of had an ad hoc situation where one neighbor mows it and another neighbor mows it and it gets tall, and then a neighbor's father comes in and mows it. So I had an event there, and I had my guy just go and trim it and get it going for the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So there's that, and I will add that, you know, I have this grant, the participatory mapping to keep Norwood cool, and there is one tool called the Eyewitness Community Survey. You might be interested in this, I don't know. It's a tool that's been developed by one of the researchers. It's kind of a survey that's very enriched, that goes on your phone. It's an app, and it has a lot of branching logic so that, you know, if you're in a park and there are questions about buildings and you say, I don't see any buildings, you go into another sort of branch of the survey that's more about green space. So it's very enriched, and the goal of this researcher is to create this platform that any city or any town could use. So I guess, you know, I know there's been other surveys, and I totally respect what ASAP Norwood has done. That was a great start and so on. But what we're going to do is, this is kind of all about citizen science. So the schools are going to start with it. And if, you know, we're letting people lead where this goes. So if kids say, I want to look at my park, or I want to look at my baseball or basketball areas, then they can go out and they can survey that, and they can create a little research project. So I'm just saying it's available for anybody. Any other group, totally agnostic there. So you might, you know, we're going to create a climate camp with Avenues for Success. It's a very exciting development, and they're all about teaching research methods too, so along with Drake. So, you know, this thing is like taking on a life of its own. But I just add that on because I know that parks are of such huge interest right now. You've really stepped into a real active civic place. So, you know, I just letting everybody know it's available. So, my email is keepnorwoodcool@gmail.com.
Could you email us the information about the app?
Yes, we're kind of collecting all of that. So
Okay, once you get it.
okay, so you've heard about the climate relays. So the grant is basically in 3 parts. The data from the climate relay, which is more like hard data, and then the Eyewitness Community Survey is what you witness. And but it's not opinions. It's more like, you know, the Cornell bird count, where I see 6 trees, I see broken concrete, you know, things like that. So it's very quantified. And then there's the third part is the health and wellness survey. It's just for Norwood. It's not like the one that the Health Collaborative is rolling out right now, which is a county-wide survey, basically trying to strategically figure out where they want to spend money. But our survey is just going to create that platform of factual information. But it is a little bit climate-oriented. Okay. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give an update that was sent to me by Mary C. Miller and Nora together. They could be here. So the park cleanup day was a big success. Plantings are going to continue in Lower Millcrest this summer, and the plan is to do more in other parks each year. The second item, Linder Park work began last Saturday, planted 50 new trees in an area cleared by MSD. They'll be clearing more honeysuckle this week and several weeks during the summer. The third item they have is a group from Xavier's project management class is preparing a park study collection data from surrounding communities that will have information that will be presented at the park communication group, is a group that a lot of us are in from other various groups and members of the administration as well as myself. And that can be shared at the Parks Committee here as well. The fourth item is ASAP and NOR together are both submitting grants that are going to help support Norwood Parks, with more information on that to follow in the future, kind of depending on if they get it, the success and all that. So that's from NOR together. Do we have any more residents here that would like to speak on some citizen-led projects that they're doing outside of?
Trees is the next thing.
You're not your agenda item.
Okay.
All right. So with that, we will move on to the third item, is trees.
I'm Candace, so I am here to talk about trees. Obviously, I had another Norwood resident, Alex Malash, approach me and say, hey, we've got 100 trees. And he kind of wanted to target Burwood at first, just to see what opportunities are there to plant some trees. So I printed out kind of his notes for you guys to go through. So he did a scope and identified some current trees that are there, some that might not make it the next few years. So if you kind of follow his notes, if you're coming from the parking lot, you just like walk right along that pathway. And if you continue on past like the middle entrance area, past where the pool used to be, you know, there's a lot of honeysuckle along that area. So planting trees there would cause the honeysuckle more opportunity to encroach. So we probably don't want to plant anything there until the honeysuckle's under control. And so if you continue walking, kind of when Burwood at the end, it dips down there. And so we thought there would be a good spot to plant some trees there. He was thinking maybe 5 to 10. The trees that that we have is a swamp white oak and a river birch. So we have 50 of each. And so 5 to 10 in that area. And then if you continue along where the highway is, you know, if you guys have been down there, you know, you can kind of see the cars right there. There is that highway fence that there's a lot of invasive trees and honeysuckle on the other side. But we think it would be great just to get some more trees lined up there to kind of create more of a wall there. There are some, I think he said silver maples, if I'm correct, already along there. So we were just thinking of like kind of continuing that line down the fence line. I did give this information to Clint Zimmerman to make sure everything's okay for maintenance, you know, cutting grass and all of that. So he is looking at it as well. So that's kind of his initial. Alex thinks that we can get maybe around 24 trees in, just with those two. You guys kind of saw where I circled and then the lines. But we do have 100 trees. So I didn't know if there was any other parks you'd want us to check out to see if there's opportunity there to plant some more. Alex and I and maybe a few volunteers will be doing all the work. You know, he's obviously has the trees for free. And then working with Clint too to make sure we're not creating more work for them.
All the oops
Yes.
sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah. I would love, I mean, I know Burwood right now has that metal slide, which is very dangerous in the middle of the summer for any kids. I know there might be plans for something else there down the line. And so I kind of talked with Clint a little bit about this, of maybe getting a tree in the center, again, to kind of create some shade down the line. So I feel like there is opportunity there. Obviously, I want to make sure it's not creating more work. I told him I'd be happy to do kind of like what we did at Lower Millcrest, the stone lining, and fill that in so they can just kind of mill right around it. And I also feel like there is opportunity down next to the new playground. If you guys have been down there, you can see where the water has just kind of already created a little stream. There's no grass growing there or anything. So I think it'd be great to put some trees there just to kind of help with prevent erosion. Again, bring some more shade to that area. And then we're also trying to make sure it's not creating, like you want to have line of sight from when you hit the parking lot to the end of the park. So there's no areas where you can't see what's going on. So those are just the recommendations for Burwood.
I just had a
Yeah.
quick. It's so I know, and it's awesome that you brought Clint in because he's acutely aware of the kind of that trench where no grass is growing.
Yeah.
That was kind of very intentional and ties into the French drain that they made.
Okay.
So I wonder if, and he would know, you know, between you and Alex and Clint, I wonder if put in the the trees in front of it does two things. One, it almost protects the trench that's there.
Yeah.
And doesn't it help? I don't know, but when trees along that fence help steer water towards the French drain, so maybe it does two things of making it, defining the park and making that part prettier and letting the trench stay a trench and do its job.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And that's, yeah, I want to check with him because it does kind of have that incline to the fence. If it would be, if he'd want the trees more along there or on the other side.
Yeah, I guess it's more on, as long as we either improve or don't hurt the trench, because I know
Exactly.
they spent, about 2 weeks and
Yeah.
a couple grand putting that together for us. So.
Yes. And I know with, so Alex was good with that too, because obviously we want to worry about roots if there is
Sure.
piping things under there. So the oaks specifically, he says, aren't a problem when it comes to roots and,
Sweet.
messing with anything, any pipes or drainage underground. We also thought Burr would be a good place to start because it is very wet. So watering, making sure that doesn't have to be consistent. Typically, it's the first year you really have to water. They are bare root trees, so you want to make sure it is wet. Burwood is usually pretty soggy, and if we had a summer like last year, we won't have any issues watering. If we do, Alex and I are happy to go dump some water on the trees if need be.
How big are the trees?
They're bare root, so
They're like this. They're the ones I'm thinking.
yeah, they're about that yay high. And so we also in there, and again working with Clint, how do you want us to identify them? Do you want us to flag them? Do you want us to put some kind of barricade around, just again to make it obvious that they're trees that we planted?
Super cool.
If I could get your last name.
Winterbauer.
Okay.
And then kind of Millcrest I was thinking of too as well, but just with the honeysuckle removal there, I think there is opportunity for trees, but right now there's a lot of work that has to go on
Yeah.
with the honeysuckle. So, but yeah, if you guys have any other parks that we want us to check out.
I mean, we're going to be talking about some park renovations that we're going to be doing in 2021 and beyond. I mean, that's definitely something that we'll look into. Like, where is this an opportunity for trees or a tree or
Yeah.
something like that? So that's good to know.
I have a bit of a dumb question. Knowing that, two of the parks we're probably going to talk about in a little bit, we've got this little gap before get that done, and then maybe the trees would go there.
Yeah.
Do these things, can you hang on to them for a few months, or how does that work?
I mean, the bare root, we just have to keep you have to keep the roots wet. It is ideal to get them in the ground sooner than later.
Uh-huh.
I have kept them, 6+ months. You like to get them in either in the spring or the fall.
I see.
Is typically when you want to plant these types of trees. So again, even if it's citizens who want some trees,
see.
Alex is very like, hey, who wants a tree? And they're both, the river birch and the swamp white oak are great trees, just urban, all of that. So like I said, about 24 for Burwood if everything goes okay, and we've got extras for wherever else you guys might want, and we'd be happy to go check out the parks if you want us to and kind of follow up there, whatever you want there.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple efforts with like trees and stuff like that. Because I feel like we have like kind of like a little bit of a duplication of efforts as far as like trees go. Nord, have you guys personally, or I'm not sure if anybody else has, but like reached out to other groups like Keep Nord Cool? I think Nord Together is doing some stuff.
Yeah, so that's Alex worked with Nord together on that last tree planting at Lindler. So he had 300 trees total. They got 200, I think, planted there. And so he kind of reached out, was like, hey, I've got 100 more trees.
What species were planted there?
At Lindler, I think it was the swamp white oak and the river birch. So those two are the ones that they had the most of. But yeah, if reaching out to anybody, I know you do the spring. My red bud looks great, by the way.
Oh.
But if you know anyone else, they're bare root, so it's not very intensive to get in the ground. And
Okay.
so.
And I would also, not really a question more for you, but just the committee, since we're talking about trees, think it might be beneficial for us to recommend out to administration to kind of reinstate the tree board. I know it's something we've had and it's not a thing anymore. With this, the new dedication towards trees and tree planting, I know this is obviously something you can't just go plug in and go, hey, we're just going to put it here, that's where it grows now. Take some thought. some planning, like we're talking about where the best place is at Burwood.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking into the parks. Where's the best place at this park? I don't know anything about trees, but I think this is a good location. It might not be for the growth of that tree, for safety of others, and I think that's something we should definitely recommend to the administration. Hey, we have quite a few people in various groups that are interested in trees in Norwood. Maybe it's a good thing to get them together to consolidate that effort so that they can kind of make these recommendations to not only us, but the administration and other groups and residents that do kind of fall into some of these trees and all that kind of thing. So
It might even streamline so they don't have to come talk
Yeah.
to us.
I
Yeah.
think so.
And Alex said too, I mean, he gets these every spring. So I was like, well, what about the cicadas planting all these new trees? Like, there's a possibility that they'll get killed by the cicadas. And he was just like, we'll replace them next year. So this is a spring thing, you know, the Cincinnati Urban Forestry Board kind of does. And I mean, Alex does a bunch of work all over Cincinnati, but obviously living here, he wants to kind of get trees in where we can. So
So who
Happy to-
approved the planting at Linder? That was Clint approved that?
I don't know who approved it, but yeah, they went through Norwood together and made sure because they cleared. It was kind of in the back area, I think. You know, past the hiking trails, kind of where the railroad is. So there was a big prairie, kind of with invasives there. So I guess they cleared it, and then they had room just to put a bunch of trees in to help with erosion and all that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a curious question to me too, because I mean, it's something we haven't really heard about.
I
Yeah,
was just going to ask you.
You know,
is it
I mean, it's nice
Yeah.
to be seen. I'm never going to sit here and just get upset because somebody's
Yeah.
doing something productive, because that's great.
yeah. I don't
You know,
know
wish-
who. Yeah.
I think something our city has lacked extremely in the last 2 decades is initiative. So I'm not going to ever fault anybody's initiative, but it'd be nice to kind of know these things ahead of time. And you know, going back again to a tree board, I think
I
that's
think that's a smart idea.
that creates that streamlined communication of, hey, they're talking, they bring it to us or the administration, and it just keeps everybody in the know. I
mean,
think consolidated efforts, consolidated communication, that's just kind of what I'm thinking from the tree board
It's
aspect.
good initiative. I appreciate it. But again, I'm going to say the same thing that I said when Donna Lake was talking about the basketball courts. This is the Parks Committee.
Yeah.
That's a park. We should have been notified. It should have gone through us. It should have been, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, we would have refused anything, but in the past, it has always been stated, go through the council.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't, it's great that the initiative was taken to do it. Absolutely wonderful. I just, you know, there's sometimes that people just want to go and do their own thing. It's, you know, it's just like any permits that you get for the city. If I get a permit for my deck, my neighbor better get the same permit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
I mean, I appreciate it, but I think that Norwood Together and whoever else is looking to take the initiative goes through the proper channels. It's only fair to everybody else.
True.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here asking. But I like the tree board. But I do like the tree board too, because if you think of all the amazing mature trees in Norwood, like if we start being very strategic and like, hey, this tree can survive here for 100+ years, and just really continue that, because we have seen a lot of mature trees come down. You know, let's get trees in the right places, so 100 years from now, the residents can have those trees.
Awesome.
Tree board it is. Thanks for
Awesome. Glad we could
Thanks, guys.
decide that there. Okay, moving on to number 4 is our 2020 park renovations. This is going to be pretty quick. So we're still making headway on Hunter. Last time I spoke to Clint, we're still looking for some bids through one company. I know we're trying to get multiple bids from multiple companies just to kind of make sure it's getting the right deal from the, you know, the right price for us. We have equipment ordered. I sent him another list of some of the smaller items like the park benches, that kind of thing, the minor stuff, not the big playground stuff. So we should be receiving and taking hold of that very shortly. Hopefully, you know, by the end of summer, we can really make a lot of headway at Hunter and really change the look of it and be almost complete with the project, if not complete. Because I know we still have some phases that is going to kind of take a while, like the dog park that's going to go, and the little basketball, tennis court area, some other things like that that's going to take time. but to get the rest of it, the walking path, the playground, the weight equipment around the walking path, those are some things I would like to see done before the end of summer, which I think is pretty reasonable and fair. So moving on from that, unless there's some questions pertaining just to Hunter, but we can also circle back as well. We decided that for 2021, the 2 parks other than that we're going to be working on and focusing on is Lower Millcrest, which I'm going to include that middle area with that. That's kind of by the tracks where you kind of come up instead of going to Lower, as well as Fenwick Park. I've talked before about Mr. Thompson and I taking on Fenwick Park and really brainstorming, talking to residents, getting stuff together, and kind of what I want to do with that is create that survey like we did for Hunter Park, Mr. Tracy and I, getting it out there, pumping it out there, letting the residents vote. You know, they put us here in these seats, but let's hear them. It's always good when we can hear their voices, so we want to hear what they want there. We're going to try to narrow down those items. You know, we can either do that here, we can do that together, and then put that survey together, send it out, and go from there on that. Millcrest, I was going to just take the lead on that, and you get a couple of the community members around me in Ward 1 there to kind of help me with that. If somebody else would like to jump on there, by all means. You know, I'm not going to, yeah, I mean, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I want to make that a community thing right there in my neck of the woods where some of those people are, you know, chomping at the bit to get out there and kind of make a difference. So we're just going to make it almost, I'd say, like a family affair over there in Ward 1 to really get Lower Millcrest going. So with that, does anybody have any questions pertaining to that? I know the Fenwick thing, the Millcrest thing are kind of really vague right now, but Hunter, does anybody have any questions, thoughts?
It's not about Fenwick or Hunter, so if no one else says. More of a comment.
Is there really a timeline on the Hunter?
So when we first started talking about it, we were talking the phases, you know, which is always nice. Well, plans are meant to be broken, I think. Some of them, at least, unfortunately. But I don't have concrete dates to give. I wish I did. But like I said, by the end of the summer, I think it should be a realistic expectation that we can have the park completed. And hopefully going forward, we can get these done to where, hey, it's kind of done right at the beginning of summer. You know, we can kind of flip that around. But, you know, progress that we're seeing is phenomenal compared to the progress we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So I'll take it.
On top, segueing from that progress, I know the last time we spoke, Burwood Park that work was done, but it had a bunch of cones and the gravel leading into it.
Yeah.
The roadway leading into it is still pretty jacked, and I recommend a all-wheel drive car if you're going down there. But the cones were removed, and you know, I was on there.
Are we waiting for anything specific that you know of there?
They do want to fix up that roadway because we knew it was going to happen, but when they were doing the demolition and things like that, it really
It's got chewed
jacked
up.
things up.
Yeah, okay.
But it's all evened out. They got the drain in there, which should help for some of the swampiness that Candace was referring to in the front end. The back end, I think even with that grading, it should improve, but I was there after it rained a bit. It didn't rain hard enough to really take a fair shake because it was still kind of dry, but I can't imagine that we went from night to day completely. I imagine maybe we improved things a bit. So front, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Back, it just looks great that there's not, you know, it's kind of even and real clean, and maybe it's a fresh canvas for 2022.
Yeah.
Are they completely replacing that drive? We're talking about the drive off of the front drive.
Yeah,
not
the front drive,
off of
not the back
so-
drive. I don't know the answer. I know it was take care of, so I don't know what that means.
Gotta love those vague answers.
Well,
was just
I know
wondering-
that they've done everything they said they've done, doing more there, so I can't imagine them doing a bad job.
Maybe one of the next meetings we kind of discuss something about the parking lot itself too.
Sure. I mean, I would love to keep going, but I think what we talked about is we were going to move, since we put so much effort into Burwood and another one, we were going to kind of move to these 2 parks. So,
Yeah.
heck, man, yeah, we can go back to focusing on that, but I think we wanted to be a lot
we're
more
going to
serious.
have multiple
discussion,
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
we're going to have multiple things going on at once, but it's like not one park's just getting the focus. And
That's
this
right.
park- I'd rather see them all slowly but surely getting done rather than nothing getting done. So.
And I think we've got a plan for Hunter. We're going to work on plans for Fenwick.
That's a
work
good
on plans
strategy.
for Lower Millcrest. We can always have those discussions to start, so we're not doing everything, trying to run everything last minute.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least we have something set to where we can go, here's our expectations, here's our goals, here's what we want to do. Get it done.
Yeah, and I do want to make mention too of it. I guess it fits into park renovations because parking lots and the lines. But the mayor mentioned last night's meeting that there's a shortage on street paint, parking lot paint. It's not something I'd ever thought you would have a shortage on. But I reached out to Clint about that because I had a couple residents asking me about it, and I was like, went and check some of them out. The parking lines are real sketchy, and he said that is on the radar. There's that shortage going on, so that's going to come because I know they want to get in there and clean those lines up and all that. But with this COVID stuff going on, there's a shortage on it somehow. So it's interesting,
Strange.
but it'll happen. So that's all I have right now. If nobody has anything else, comments, questions, anything, then we can go ahead and end it.
Good job.
All right. Call this meeting to order then.
Thanks to the three of you for
everyone.
coming.